this guy came out at this Glastonbury thing. Here's what he said. And well, first of all, his name is Bob Vylan. He's a British punk. Bob Vylan is a British punk duo. I thought it was a guy.
Oh, Bob Vylan. Bob Vylan. Like
oh,
Bob
that's
Dylan.
it. What did I call it? What did I say?
Vylan.
Vylan.
Bob Vylan.
It's Bob Vylan.
Well, it's spelled like Dylan with a V. That's great. My mom would ask me, "Have you heard of Bob Vylan?
Have you heard of this Bob?" My parents would always say, "Hey, what do you think of that Jerry Steinfeld?" That's what my parents would say. Now I'm my parents. I've turned into my parents. So, guess what happened to him? So he was at that Glassbirdie thing, and so here's what he did.
Free. Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death to the IDF. 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 Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be.
So he said that, and then he got dropped by his agency. UTA dropped him.
Oh, what a surprise. UTA was not cool with saying death to the IDF. Is that, you mean to tell me that happened?
And then they had their U.S. visas revoked by the State Department.
Well, they're terrorists.
And so that means they had, I guess they had a bunch of dates scheduled to perform in the United States. And so now they can't do it. So they got canceled. So this is the woke right canceling people over speech. And death to the IDF is not anti-Semitic because you can criticize Israel, you can criticize war crimes by a terrorist organization, and that's not anti-Semitic. And again, most of the Jews I know do not support, some Jews and some Christians, but most of the people that I know personally who are Jews do not support Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Zionism. They don't support Zion. They don't feel unsafe walking the streets of Manhattan. They don't feel safe in Miami Beach. They don't feel unsafe. They feel safe. They don't feel unsafe in New York. They don't feel unsafe in Florida. They don't feel unsafe in Hollywood. They feel safe.
Well, the one place that Jews are unsafe the most, by the way, for the record, is Israel.
Is Israel. That's the irony. The place where they're the least safe is actually Israel.
I mean, I get the problems in the past, but now, currently in the time of my lifetime, the big danger to Jews has been Israel the whole time.
The whole time.
And you don't even have a constitution.
So what Israel's doing, is creating animosity and hatred, and then they conflate that with hatred of Jewish people. Well, those aren't the same thing. You can hate Israel, you can hate Benjamin Netanyahu, you can hate the IDF. That is not anti-Semitic, because most of those Zionists are not even religious, and the most religious Jews are against the state of Israel. They see it as a blasphemy.
Oh,
so
hate it or don't hate it. Your money's going there whether you like it or not, dumbass. So guess what? If you have whatever little feelings you want, your money's going no matter what you vote for. That's reality.
So the UTA dropped them, and there's a significant backlash over the chants, which also sparked a criminal investigation of them. And yeah, they're being. Why didn't I get involved? I said shit like that when I was over there. Well, I was trying to get arrested. Nobody even cared. I sailed right through customs on the way back in. I was all ready. I wiped my cell phones. I didn't. They already got. They already got my cell phones. They already got me through Pegasus, so they already got everything.
UTA. It's called UTA, biggest management companies. Okay,
yeah.
So guess who's not going to like you saying that? UTA. So you're not with UTA, are you? I'm not with UTA.
Oh, I'm with UTA. Maybe I shouldn't say no.
Oh, say you're with UTA.
I couldn't even get because of my stance on Israel.
Yeah.
Palestine. I had it all set up. I was supposed to have these two big agents representing me in Hollywood.
You don't say.
And it was engineered by a very high level celebrity at UTA who's a fan of mine and my show. Got me on the phone. I was on the phone with two UTA agents, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this is great, and we're gonna blah blah blah." And then they took a look at my Twitter thread, and I was calling Zionists Nazis and things, and that
standard background check.
Never heard back from them.
Hey, they got to see who they're getting in bed with, Jimmy.
Yeah.
The people that you would hire on your behalf to feed off of you like a tick, agents. They get to fire you and say, no, we'll see if you qualify to work for our agency. You know, the one you might have heard of from all the Diddy parties?
Yeah.
You know the one you might have heard of that's a nightmare that a new bunch of suckers are lining up every day to be part of? Don't forget Me Too and Time's Up. The agency that was behind that, I think it's CAA, was Biden's agent. So that's why when Biden literally grabbed a woman by the P word, that's why it didn't go nowhere, because it was a vehicle for Alyssa Milano and
that's
to clean
right.
out
Celebrity
like a few
Talent
people.
International is what I see represents
that's
him.
That's his speaking thing. But he used to be, so that's when he used to he used to have a real, they used to be represented by real agency. Look up, do a Twitter search, because I tweeted it out one time. I tweeted out that Jank and Anna were represented by the same Hollywood agent. It was when Susan Sarandon got dropped.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if so she was with WME, I'm pretty sure, right?
They're all three-letter agencies. I'm not saying that as like a joke about the three-letter agencies, but these are also three-letter agencies, and they're all going to collude and do all kinds of grimy shit, especially in show business, because they work with the other three-letter agencies.
That's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right. So this is what they do to threaten you into compliance. And I would say 99% of my ex-Hollywood friends go along with it. They won't say shit. They wouldn't say shit during COVID. They wouldn't say shit during Ukraine war, Russiagate, Syria. They're not going to say shit now. Believe me.
They're going to get tattooed with that new tattoo that is like right on the nose out of a crazy Jack Chick Bible tract. Your friends, my friends are going to go, oh, that's handy. Now I have this thing on my hand, the thing that when you had that German lady on. It's over.
So this is them losing. So just so you know, this is Israel losing. So when you do stuff like that, do you think that helps you? I never heard of this guy Bob Vylan.
Well,
or this group. I never heard of this group, and now I have.
I know, right?
And now everybody else has, and now I want to go listen to their music, and I would probably go buy a ticket to their thing if I could.
You would? Is that BDSing? Because that's against the law.
What about BDSMing?
No, that's
a little different.
As long as you're in a supervised Diddy environment.
So that has. So here's the BBC. They were televising this on the BBC, and what's that Irish rap group that already got banned or canceled?
Death to the IDF? No, I don't think so.
So they already made sure they weren't going to broadcast them, but then the Bob Vylan came on and said that, which they broadcast because they didn't know he was going to do that.
What's the criminal activity that they're going to find that he did the criminal activity?
So they have different laws over there. That could be called hate speech.
But they usually defend Muslims. See, so Israel, the people Israel's been and us have been and them have been blowing up England. You know, a lot more of them have gone to England than have come here. But so you got all these people filled with refugees from countries you blew up, and they all don't have good feelings about Israel. And you've been welcoming it on purpose because it's a Soros town.
Yes.
So, now the way I look at these things is like, is this guy like allowed to say this because it's England and somebody put him up to it? Because at these levels, this is like such a thing where you just said, now I know who this guy is.
Yeah.
It's such a thing where you're going to know who they are that I always now look at everything like it's a goddamn intel op. because of course it's how people would receive it. Is he like that New York mayoral candidate everyone's still talking about like it's a real thing?
I just got it. I know how people are so easily hoodwinked by that guy who's a Muslim. And
oh no, a Muslim,
and he eats with his fingers.
For 3 years,
and he eats with. Yeah, I know, a Muslim.
And I wish I could be locked in my house, but a Muslim. What a collection of him! Unbelievable.
So this is what the BBC statement was: millions of people tuned in to enjoy Glastonbury this weekend across the BBC's output, but one performance within our live stream included comments that were deeply offensive.
Oh boy.
The BBC, so if they would have chanted death to the Russian army or death to ISIS or death to any other terrorist organization, they wouldn't care. But a lot of people see the IDF as a terrorist organization because they're doing genocide. And that's according
also, they are.
That's according to the ICC.
And people who like them.
And people who like them.
They are the most brutal. By the way, they suck. Krav Maga doesn't work. They're not good at shit unless we're paying for it. It turns out they're fake. Okay, the dirty scumbag intel coven is so morals free and devious that it is impressive on many levels. Yes, that I'll give them that.
The BBC respects freedom of expression. No, you don't. But stands firmly against incitement to violence. Oh, so that's what they're going to say was the illegal crime, Kurt, was that he was inciting violence by saying that. What?
You can say it about Russians, though.
You could say it about many other people you could say that about. But again,
the Russian army and civilians.
And civilians.
They killed Russians. That's great.
That's right. The anti-Semitic sentiments expressed by Bob Vylan were utterly unacceptable. Not just unacceptable, but utterly. So it involved something to do with cows. And it has no place on our airwaves. We welcome Glastonbury's condemnation of the performance.
By the way, they wouldn't speak out on Jimmy Savile, the notorious sexual predator with victims from age 7 to 90.
But of course, we here at the BBC fully endorse the condemnation of the filthy Middle Eastern pack.
Even though people complaining about letting people from that ethnic group in, the BBC would also condemn. So I'm getting mixed messages from the BBC is all I'm saying.
The performance was part of a live stream of the Westholt stage on BBC iPlayer. The judgment on Saturday to issue a warning on screen while streaming online was in line with our editorial guidelines. In addition, we took the decision not to make the performance available on demand. So they've censored the performance. The team was dealing with a live situation, but with hindsight, we should have pulled the stream during the performance. We regret that did not happen. In light of this weekend, we will look at our guidance around live events so we can be sure that we can censor people. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's what they're saying. So we can be sure that we can censor people. I bet you YouTube and Rumble is going to get more regular streaming than BBC does in the future. How about that?
It already does.
Yes,
it's just England or look, UK. You got to step it up because your bitches over there, and you're like, oh, we're not allowed to do that. Too many people watch stuff on BBC there still. So they're trying, Kurt. They're trying to suppress these guys, and what they've done is the exact opposite. They've made them more popular, and so everything they do is going to go in the exact reverse of everything they're trying to accomplish. If they were any worse at what they do, they'd be on the White House staff right now. That's Or you mean any more paid off by owned by Israel?
So here's Ash Sarkar says, if death to the IDF is anti-Semitic, then destroy ISIS is Islamophobic.
No, it's also anti-Semitic because Israel created ISIS.
That's correct. Because the principle that enforces is that we can't consider violent genocidal war criminals as separate from so that's exactly right. So get this though. Our good friend Konstantin Kisin, he retweeted Ash Sarkar and said, imagine having such a warped moral compass that you can't tell the difference between jihad fanatics and the armed forces of a country whose policies you don't agree with. he's making it out like we just don't agree with their policies. No,
I just have a few disagree.
Just a few disagree. I just didn't have. I had a few disagreements with Hitler, and Pol Pot. I just had a few disagreements. That's all. Like that he killed everybody who wore eyeglasses.
I bet he had a lot to say about the Wagner Group and all that other bullshit, right?
This is what passes for intelligent thought among, he puts in quotes, progressives.
Have you seen Douglas Murray? He didn't do too good.
Didn't do too good. So Omar Badr, right below it, says, if you think a genocidal army that's starving children, and they brag about starving children, by the way, sniping toddlers, which they do, they take headshots on children, and systematically wiping out entire families is morally superior, I'm afraid it's your moral compass that's entirely broken. Better yet, have the courage to host a single Palestinian and discuss this. Okay. Maybe Ass Soccer just watched some IDF soldiers' TikToks that looked like ISIS vids, but even gayer. Maybe that's what Ass Sarker did. Imagine being so warped that you haven't given up on neoconservatism. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
How about imagine being so wrong that you get owned by Ass Sarker while responding to Ass Sarker?
Do you know Ash Sarker? It sounds like a Star Wars name, but she sucks on her own. But guess what? Ash Sarker's right. Not this Constantine, who, let's face it, looks like a puppet from the Dark Crystal, the Jim Henson movie. I love Francis, though. I just think that Constantine's a silly goose, and I'm sorry to use that kind of strong language.
That is strong language.
I said it to Francis. Tell Constantine.
No, this is definitely goose. Constantine, like other people, have said some good things about censorship and other things, and done some good work, and I even liked some of the videos I've seen and stuff like that. But this is their Achilles heel. They become the thing that they claim to hate. They become authoritarian, censor, and then they're just like the left. Left called everything racist, and they wanted to censor your hate speech, and that's exactly what they're doing. They call everything anti-Semitic, and they want to censor it, and they call it hate speech. They're exactly the thing they claim that they. Just like Ben Shapiro said, you don't have a right to a safe space at a college campus. You should stay home. You're supposed to hear things that make you uncomfortable, things that offend you. You're supposed to hear that stuff at a college. And
guess what?
That's what Ben Shapiro used to say. That's what Ben Shapiro used to say. So
he's scum, but a lot of these people are adult. You've said it a lot, and it's a great analogy that I use all the time. Adult children of alcoholics.
Yes.
Shh.
That's right.
Don't say, the dad's sleeping, he's drunk. Like, they're all, so I bet you that dude Constantine, because his dad's an oligarch that fled Russia.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Phil Harper says Constantine is both morally and intellectually bankrupt, which is a rare combo these days. And so this is from, I don't think it's rare. This is from the Jewish newspaper, the Haaretz.
But they're left wing.
It says it's a killing field. IDF soldiers ordered to shoot deliberately at unarmed Gazans waiting for humanitarian aid. Now, if that wasn't true, I'm sure that they got sued, right? Oh, they didn't get sued. Because that's true.
What you're telling me that Israel, the land of Jews, is just going to sue people?
So this is what's called war crimes. So this is what makes the IDF terrorists legit and war criminals. That's why the ICC. That's why, and it's also an apartheid regime, which every human rights organization in the world has said that Israel is an apartheid regime, meaning they have what they call Jewish supremacy. So if you're Jewish, you are at one tier, and then the 2 million Palestinians living in Gaza don't get to vote.
Jimmy, remember that disgusting Sharia law that we all hate? And what a nightmare if we ever had Sharia law.
Oh, yeah. Remember that?
It turns out they got their own version called Noahide law. And guess what? It's very similar to Sharia law. Who saw that coming?
Cut Constantine some slack, Kurt, because his dad fled Russia under suspicion of stealing hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So he has to say this stuff.
Was he going to go against his dad? It's true.
He's not going to go.
Dude, a lot of rich kids are in a bad spot, and I do have some mercy on them.
So here's some more people responding. I included some of the funny ones. Constantine says, they're just the armed forces of a country whose policies you disagree with. The policies are blocking aid, starvation, sniping children in the head, bombing hospitals, killing journalists, killing unarmed civilians waiting in line for food for no reason, shooting medics in the head, then burying them in shallow graves, bombing refugee camps, and bombing cafes. Constantine, your moral compass is so warped compared to mine.
Yeah.
So this is the stuff they're left defending. This is the legit stuff that that he has to defend. Which is
what they learn at Fancy Lad class?
What's that?
You know what they learn at Fancy Lad class? It's only a crime when they do it.
That's right.
That's their main lesson. They learn one thing at fancy school. That.
Niels Brent says, imagine having such a warped moral compass that you can't tell the difference between armed forces of a country whose policies you don't agree with and thugs committing genocide. Nice switcheroo there, Niles.
Wasn't that nice?
Tiberius says, imaginary human concepts invented by the prevailing oppressor. So it's just a construct made up by the oppressor as the Israeli government and the IDF, which have been occupying Gaza. Right? They're the occupiers, which is illegal.
They torture some folks?
Yeah, and they torture some folks. So there's more. Intentionally starving children makes you a terrorist, says Alisiba. Mr. Wouldn't know morals if they bumped you in the ass. Are you aware that the Prime Minister and former Minister of Defense leading these armed forces are wanted for crimes against humanity? Did you know that? Hey, imagine being so warped you commit a genocide, then claim to be the victim. Policies. Ash is right. You're a genocide supporter. So that's what that sounds like to me, too. I'd have to say I agree with that.
A lot of people are. You'd be real surprised. All it takes is a little bit of trauma followed by mind control. And everybody, 9/11, we all were like, yeah, go to Iraq. Didn't have nothing to do with it.
Hey,
we got to blow up some people with that hat.
So, Constantine, do you feel the same about Russian soldiers? Do you make the same excuses for them? No? I wonder why. They commit way less war crimes than the IDF does. Even the fabled Wagner Group is not as brutal to civilians as the IDF. In fact, the IDF is the golden standard of brutality and ruthlessness. According to people who support the IDF, they pull off Pearl Harbor attacks and red weddings, according to Fox News.
The red wedding Fox News called a red. Do you know what that is, Jimmy?
Yeah, no.
In Game of Thrones, where they it's like this dirty double cross by a villain, where they kill the guy people like Robb Stark and his pregnant wife and his elderly mother. They basically kill a bunch of civilians under the guise of peace. And Fox News has this as a headline, like it's a thing that we should be proud of. It's unreal, dude. That's how they market it. So people like the IDF because they do evil shit like that.
Yeah.
That's why they train our cops.
So this is Zionism, and Israel has lost the game. They've lost. They've lost the game. And this is what it looks like. The IDF is a terrorist organization. Oh yeah, there's that. The moral justification for Israel's actions against Palestinians appears increasingly untenable, says Ethan Fowler, given the ongoing violence perpetrated by the IDF on civilians and children. They've even lost Pierce Morgan. That's how bad it's gotten. But Pierce Morgan...
He didn't want to go, but he had to because you screwed up so bad.
Pierce
was already knew.
Javier Bardem is condemning them on The View. That's how bad it's gotten.
Because isn't like that other Latin actor is getting all the work?
It's only a matter of time before the world recognizes people like Kissen as a Goebbels-like propagandist for Israel. Wow, that's strong words.
They have slight builds and a kind of an odd face. That's no reason. Just because they look like weird puppets.
But Colin Ruggs, he equates He's saying that calling for death is, so people were saying this is free speech. He's saying calling for death is most likely a threat and wouldn't be covered under the First Amendment.
Yes, it would. To a foreign nation.
To an army?
Military, not civilians.
To a military?
Yeah.
I think it's okay. I'm not a legal scholar, but
Jimmy,
I'm pretty sure
legal.
that would not stand in court.
If he talked about a gang in England that he wanted them dead, and he openly talked about death to whatever, there would be no charges. Just like in America, all these rappers are in gangs and openly talk about killing each other. No one's talking about that like that. It's because one special group. You can't talk about their military.
Here's one more. Breaking. Oh, this is it. So yeah. So this Israel account tweets out, Jewish hatred will not be tolerated anymore.
What are you talking? I mean, what on earth are they talking about? Well, you know what that is? It's a power source to Israel to function.
That's right.
Their main energy source is anti-Semitism, not oil.
Not oil.
Not natural gas.
That's
anti-Semitism. Right. In the words of the great Theodore Herzl, when anti-Semitism spreads, I grow. You know, the founding Zionist.
So they just took this guy, or this group, Bob Dylan, and they just Dylan? Villain?
Yeah,
Bob Vylan? I'm sorry. I said Dylan.
Yes.
This
Bob Vylan would never.
I know. Bob Dylan would never.
He's an old Jewish lady. You think he's going to talk bad about Israel, an elderly Jewish woman?
So they just pulled this Bob Vylan group out of obscurity, and they've emblazoned its name across the sky. You accidentally made this guy a superstar. You think Greta Thunberg's detainment backfired into bad press?
Yeah.
Kids love to go all forbidden places, including concerts, you geniuses.
Here's the new one.
Nobody around the world would have noticed him, but now everybody on Earth is noticing him, including me.
Great call. That's a great call. Because I never heard of the God Hates F Slurs Church, which apparently was, remember them? God Hates F Slurs, you know, instead of gay.
Yeah.
You can't even say what they were called. But remember that church? And they'd be in the news every day.
Oh, that's right. Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and I had a joke back then about like, okay, this is just one guy's family. Why are you bothering to tell me about this? Like, if you shut up, it would go nowhere because the only members are one family.
It's just one. Yeah, it was one family.
And in the same pattern. Oh, but that nailed it. That nails it. It's, oh, he's unknown. And now we got a new thing for the kids to be mad about, but not really anything will ever change.
You guys they've lost Republicans under 50 years old. So anybody who doesn't watch Fox News and is a Republican, they've lost them.
And Jewish kids.
Yeah, including Jewish kids.
The only ones still on board are generational Zionist rich families.
This is all about Benjamin Netanyahu trying to escape prosecution. That's why he keeps doing all these wars and slaughtering all these people. Hey, let me ask you something. When was the last time you thought about your gut health? Most people don't realize this, but your gut isn't just where digestion happens. It's where your immune system actually lives, where your energy is regulated, and even where your mental clarity and mood are shaped, right in your gut. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition takes everything powerful about traditional fermented kimchi, over 900 strains of probiotics, antioxidants, and enzymes, and it puts it in convenient capsules you can take daily. No mess, no prep, no strong odor, just real results. You can expect to feel more energized, clearer mentally, and have smoother digestion. Over time, you'll even notice a difference in your skin and hair, and we know that's true based on real science. Kimchi has also been shown in clinical studies to reduce the risk of obesity, support healthy blood sugar, and improve metabolism. Kimchi 1 is non-GMO, all-natural, dairy-free, gluten-free, and 100% made in the United States by a company that truly believes in wellness and integrity. Right now, guess what? You can get 25% off with my code DORE, that's D-O-R-E, at mybrightcore.com/Jimmy. And for an even better deal, call them. Call Brightcore at 888-253-0418. You're going to get up to 50% off if you call them, and free shipping. Do something great for your gut and your health today. Again, that's 888-253-0418. Hey, come see us on tour. We're going to be in Toronto, Red Bank, New Jersey, Northampton, Massachusetts, Concord, New Hampshire, Oxnard, California, Rutherford, New Jersey, New York, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.